Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. Inside today's video, we're going to be drafting up against the ESPN average draft position, so it's going to be a lot like we are drafting on ESPN inside of today's video. I'm also going to be breaking down each and every single pick I make, the players that I'm thinking about selecting at each spot, as well as the reasoning why I came to the decision to pick each and every single player in the draft, as well as discussing the draft as a whole and how I feel about how things are going. But before we get on in to this 12-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot, I would like to ask, if you are new to the YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys at the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to ask, if you do have a Twitter, to please follow me on there at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The roster positions for this mock draft are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. So let's head into the draft. Now, if you know that you're the #1 overall pick in a 10-team league, a 12-team league, an 8-team league, a 14-team league, whether the league is PPR, half PPR, or standard, you're going to be going into the draft knowing one thing. And that is that you are going to select Christian McCaffrey at the #1 overall pick. Christian McCaffrey has the ceiling to finish as the #1 running back in fantasy football because of the amount of points that this man scores week in and week out from the receiving game as well as the rushing game. He is so dominant because of the amount of targets he gets week in and week out. And that also goes into standard leagues. He's still just as dominant in the standard format. Christian McCaffrey also has a very safe floor because, say he doesn't finish as the #1 overall guy in fantasy football, say he doesn't average 30 plus PPR points per game, then I would be very hard pressed to see Christian McCaffrey fall outside of the top 5 if he is healthy because of that receiving floor he sees week in and week out in Carolina. It doesn't matter who the fuck the quarterback is in Carolina. It's going to be Sam Darnold this season. I don't care if it was me out there throwing him the ball, because I believe any quarterback is going to know exactly what to do, and that is throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey so that that man can move you up the field to give you the best chance to win in the NFL, and the best way to give you the best chance of winning in fantasy football at the #1 overall spot is selecting Christian McCaffrey. I would not even consider another player at that pick at all. Christian McCaffrey should be the #1 overall pick every single time, and basically 99.99999% of the time in your guys' fantasy drafts, you will see Christian McCaffrey be the #1 overall pick. So after I went with Christian McCaffrey came Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb, and Jonathan Taylor to close out the first round. Inside of the first round, a majority of the picks are going to be running backs because early on in drafts, you really want to look to secure that running back position. Now, obviously, if you're later on in the first round, if you're not one of those top 5, top 6, top 7 picks where I really like the running backs there, maybe you're a little bit more nervous. Say you don't like Aaron Jones, then I understand why you might take Travis Kelce ahead of him, why you might take Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams ahead of him. Now, personally, I'm a huge fan of Aaron Jones, but I can see why some people might want to make the argument away from him and take a wide receiver at that spot. But if you're one of the early picks in the draft, I would say you have to go running back every single time. If you're sitting here at the #4 overall spot and you take Devontae Adams over Derrick Henry, to me, obviously I understand that Devontae Adams is a ultra safe pick, but so is Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is at a position that is much more scarce than the wide receiver position. That is why a lot of people hammer into the running back position early on, but typically you'll see anywhere from 2 to 4 non-running backs inside the first round. The second round opens with Austin Eckler, which is a great value going after Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor. After that, we see Stephon Diggs, Najee Harris, DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Gibson, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Pat Mahomes, Darren Waller, and Justin Jefferson. The closer we get to the draft kind of week where everyone drafts at the end of this week, the more we see Darren Waller creep into the second round. Now, a lot of the times in drafts for the last couple of months, he's been going as a staple inside the third round, but don't be surprised that if you want Darren Waller, that you're going to have to pay the price inside the back half of the second round in order to get him. I believe he is the tight end that could end up outscoring Travis Kelce and taking the throne as the #1 overall tight end in fantasy football. After Darren Waller came Justin Jefferson. So we already have Christian McCaffrey, so it really is kind of a pick your poison here with running back or wide receiver. Now, I am not someone who's going to stand here and berate George Kittle, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I feel like there's a decent amount of risk with George Kittle. He's a great player and all, but the situation there with me not knowing who the quarterback is going to be, me kind of feeling that if Trey Lance is under center, they're going to try to rush the ball a little bit more, and that kind of ekes George Kittle out. Maybe Trey Lance doesn't throw the ball as much to George Kittle like Jimmy Garoppolo would, so it is a little bit scary. Again, I understand why you might want to take him in the third round. He's still my #3 overall ranked tight end, but I'm a little bit more nervous about that. I'm definitely not going to be looking to take a quarterback inside the second round. I believe that that is a very, very strong reach, because even if your league goes quarterback heavy early on, you can just wait till the end of the draft and select a guy like Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, who are going to be perfectly fine quarterbacks, and you don't have to waste one of those early round picks where you should be really looking to get those star-studded running backs, those star wide receivers onto your roster. So we already have Christian McCaffrey, so it is a wise decision here to at least get one wide receiver with these picks that we have on the turn here, because obviously we have the 212 as well as the 301. So looking at the wide receivers available right now, we have Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. There's a lot of wide receivers here that I could easily see being second-round picks. In my opinion, the safest one here and one of the best bets to finish as a potential top 5 wide receiver would be Keenan Allen or Allen Robinson. Keenan Allen in LA with Justin Herbert. I feel like this is going to be a team that is very, very solid this season, very good in the passing attack. Allen Robinson in Chicago, obviously, with Andy Dalton starting the first probably couple weeks of the season. That isn't the greatest outlook, but Allen Robinson has put up big numbers with subpar quarterbacks before, so I'm not really too worried about that. Terry McLaurin has the upside to be a top 10 wide receiver. Ryan Fitzpatrick loves to lock onto the wide receiver position, one wide receiver, especially on the team. We saw that in 2019 with the Miami Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick was locking onto Devontae Parker, and we saw that in preseason with Ryan Fitzpatrick locking onto Terry McLaurin. CeeDee Lamb on Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the National Football League, most likely in 2021. I assume the defense is going to continue to really struggle, and that's going to make Dakota Prescott have to heave the ball late in these games. So here, I want to go ahead and take one safe pick, and then we're going to go a little bit spicy, because I think CeeDee Lamb is not necessarily the safest pick, because Amari Cooper could easily out-target him on the team. Now, I'd be hard-pressed to see him fall outside the top 12, but I do believe that CeeDee Lamb does have that top 5 potential because of how the team is going to play. So we're going to go with Keenan Allen here, and then we are going to go with CeeDee Lamb. Now, if I was drafting according to my rankings, I would draft Allen Robinson at this spot, but when you are drafting in a lot of leagues, which I play in, I'm not sure how many leagues you guys play in, let me know down below in the comment section, but if you play in like 2 to 3 leagues, maybe playing like 5 to 10 leagues, I'm not too sure, but if you play in a couple of leagues in the second and third round, if you want to hammer in on double wide receiver, you might want to take Allen Robinson in some leagues. You might want to take McLaurin in the others. You might want to take Lamb in the others. You want to take the wide receivers that you like, but you don't want to take the exact same ones every single time, because if that player ends up being a bust, if they end up getting injured, then you basically just fucked all of your teams at once. So make sure that you guys remember that going into draft. So here, we are going to go ahead and draft CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. If you would prefer McLaurin or Allen Robinson, again, to me, there's not too much of an argument there, because they're all in a very similar tier at the wide receiver position in my book. So after we went ahead and drafted CeeDee Lamb came Joe Mixon, followed by Terry McLaurin, George Kittle, Allen Robinson, C.E.H. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Robert Woods, Josh Allen, Mike Evans, Dave Montgomery, James Robinson, Amari Cooper. The 4th round begins with Adam Thielen, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Miles Sanders, Julio Jones, Cooper Kupp, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, and Lamar Jackson. So while I said early on that I don't want to go ahead and draft a quarterback inside the second round, because to me, this team, it needs a running back. It needs a running back here, because you don't want your first running back to be Josh Jacobs, who is a running back that I don't think is going to have all that great of a season with Kenyon Drake there. So a huge swing and a fucking miss by this team over here at the number 4 overall spot. But like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks all off the board right here. But you could have waited and gotten a 3-round discount and drafted Dak Prescott inside of the 5th round. So that's why I don't really advocate for reaching up early, because I could easily see any of those other quarterbacks going behind Patrick Mahomes, finishing as the number 1 overall guy. I wouldn't be surprised if Mahomes was number 1. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Allen. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Kyler. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Lamar Jackson. So I think that reaching up early on in the draft to get a quarterback is not the greatest strategy. So I would like to let you guys know before we make our 4th pick that today's show is being brought to you guys by our brand new sports betting podcast, Betting You. College football has kicked off, and we have you guys covered as Ben Rasa and Matt Kajaski take you guys through each conference and the best bets on the board. Betting You is available now wherever you guys get your podcasts, with new episodes dropping every single Wednesday. So make sure you guys check that out, Betting You. So back on into the video here, we're probably going to be looking for at least one running back on this turn. I would understand if you wanted to make the argument for Dak Prescott here, and I'd be fine doing it, but I have taken quarterbacks relatively early in some of these mock drafts recently, and I like to give you guys different looks every single video. So here, we are definitely going to go with one running back, and the first running back here is a question, because now with Gus Bus Edwards being the, at least in my head, and in the head of most fantasy analysts, Gus Edwards is the clear lead back in Baltimore. It appears today that they're not going to bring in Todd Gurley, so it's Gus Edwards' job. Now, there are other running backs behind Gus Edwards, but Gus Edwards would be getting the nod to be the first-string guy. Obviously not going to be some type of workhorse running back like Christian McCaffrey or something, but on a very run-heavy team, if he takes over that J.K. Dobbins role, Gus Edwards has legitimate top 12 potential. But would I draft him over Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, Myles Gaskin? To me, no. So first up here, this really is a pick your poison. Myles Gaskin, Darrell Henderson, and Mike Davis. Mike Davis, to me, is the clear number 1 running back in Atlanta with zero zilch competition behind him. Darrell Henderson in LA, they bring in Sony Michel. I'm not too worried about that. I think the Rams are going to be good. I think Darrell Henderson's the lead back there. Should be a solid season. Myles Gaskin, obviously there's talks of a committee with Malcolm Brown as well as with Salvin Ahmed, but we all saw how that kind of dwindled its way out, how that kind of maybe whittled its way out. I'm not sure what the correct kind of verbiage usage is there, the correct saying, but the things are kind of ironed out there. That's what I was looking for in Miami. Myles Gaskin's the clear number 1 back. This offense is going to be very solid this year, in my opinion. And I am a Dolphins fan, but I do believe this offense is going to look a lot better now with Chan Gailey gone. So it really is a pick your poison. We are going to go with a 1-2 punch at the running back position here, though. I want to go ahead and go with Mr. Mike Davis of the Atlanta Falcons. I love the fact that he is the clear workhorse back here. I think he's a very solid pass catching back. We saw that in Carolina last season. I think a lot of people are severely underrating Mike Davis's potential in 2021. And after that, we're going to go ahead and go with Darrell Henderson, running back of the LA Rams. Now, I understand that Sony Michel gets people a little bit nervous. They start to think that, oh, now Darrell Henderson is not going to be seeing the workhorse level running back carries. It was probably never going to be like that. I'm just telling you, whether it was Jake fucking Funk behind him or whether it is Sony Michel, I don't think there was ever a chance that Darrell Henderson was just what Cam Akers was going to be. But he is going to be seeing the lion's share of carries there, a majority of the carries there. He's going to be seeing some decent receptions, and he's on a team that is going to be very good with a good defense that should be able to run the ball late on in games. So I really do like Darrell Henderson at this spot inside the 4th round, and a lot of people are getting a little, or in the 5th round, I should say, but a lot of people are starting to get a little bit too nervous when it comes to Darrell Henderson. Gus Edwards does end up falling to us inside the 6th round, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I think in a lot of drafts, Gus Edwards is going to end up skyrocketing into like the 4th or 5th round, which is where there is no way I would take him at that price. So after we went Darrell Henderson, came Mark Andrews, followed by Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Titty Boy, T. Higgins, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, Brandon Ayuk, Aaron Rodgers, Odell Beckham Jr., Russell Wilson, Dickie Dak Prescott, Juju Smith-Schuster, Corvette, Jerry Jeudy, Logan Thomas, Kareem Hunt, Kenny Golladay, Myles Gaskin, Robbie Anderson, Justin Herbert, Chase Edmonds, Chase Claypool, and Jamar Chase. 3 chases going in a row. Where's Vinny Chase at? Shout out to Entourage. So Kenny Golladay goes in the 6th round. Kenny Golladay still not at practice. Still dealing with an injury. I love Kenny Galladay's upside, but the red flashing lights that I talk about in a lot of the videos where, you know, the alarms are going off, those are starting to go off in my head. I'm thinking, oh shit, this might be real. This might be severe. Kenny Galladay may miss some serious time, and I'm starting to get very, very nervous. I'm starting to soil my pants thinking about drafting Kenny Galladay. So, right now, my stamp of approval that was previously smacked directly onto the head of Kenny Galladay, I'm going to try to, you know, get the eraser out, the old eraser out, and erase the stamp of approval because I think Kenny Galladay is a great player. But the injury scares me. It really, really does, and this offense looks like it is going to be bad. Now, again, if Galladay falls into like the 7th round, I'm fine taking him, but in the 6th round, with the injury concerns right now, that is a definitely a kind of an easy fade in my mind. So Gus Edwards does fall to us inside of the 2nd round, or inside of the 6th round, I should say. How realistic is that? I'm not too sure, because I think in some drafts, people are going to scoop him in the 4th round. But then in other drafts, people are going to be a little bit more nervous. They might be thinking, hey, while he is the number 1 back there, maybe they bring in someone else. There is still that chance they bring in someone else. Maybe I don't want to reach on him. And he goes here inside of this 6th round, which would have been a stupid pick a couple of days ago. But now J.K. Dobbins with the torn ACL, this seems like a very good pick. So I think it is kind of realistic that he may fall our way here. So we will take him inside the 6th round. If you guys think that is unrealistic, then you could have just said we took Damian Harris with this pick. Now, a good rule of thumb in fantasy football, and you can clearly tell by my lineup construction, is that you need to draft more running backs than wide receivers, because it's very easy to whip your phone out, go on your computer, and type in when you're on the website, go on the waiver wire, and find a wide receiver that you can start basically any given week off the waiver wire, and they could put up potential wide receiver 2 production. But at running back, unless there's an injury, it is very, very difficult to just pick up some running back and throw them into your lineups. That's why I like to load up on running backs in these drafts. But here we're definitely going to need to go wide receiver. We're past the tight end zone that I'm comfortable with. The tight ends I'm comfortable with are Waller, Kittle. Again, don't really love Kittle, but I'm fine taking him. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson. And once that kind of range of tight end ends, I'm just punting the position. I am Pat McAfeeing that shit, meaning by punting the position, I mean I'm just waiting until much later. I don't feel ultra confident in Logan Thomas. I don't feel ultra confident in Goddard, Tunyon, Fant, or Higbee. Like any of those guys that are going in these middle round ranges to really finish. Like these guys, you could put them in any order, and I'd be like, that looks good. You want to know why? Because they're just the middling tight ends. I'd rather take the upside shot on one of these other late round tight ends, but my favorite late round tight end, Irv Smith, is now hurt. He is going to undergo surgery to repair his meniscus. This injury will sideline him at least for the start of the regular season. Tough scene. Very tough scene because Irv Smith I was so sure that this was going to be a breakout season that it sucks. He's still able, you can still draft him, but you got to wait till later in the draft to do it than you previously would inside like the 9th, 10th, or 11th round. So I'm fine waiting at this point. But in the 9th round, if any of these guys are available, I'm fine paying that price for him. So looking at the board here, we got Tyler Boyd at wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, Deebo Samuel, Corey Davis, Will Fuller. Now, right now in the 7th round, Corey Davis is kind of a reach, but we know what Corey Davis is. He's the clear wide receiver 1 in New York for the Jets. And Zach Wilson, this isn't like the old Jets, right? This isn't the Adam Gase Jets. This is a different team, and I believe Corey Davis could put up some big numbies this year, but we are going to go ahead and go with Cortland Sutton, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos. So many people talking up Jerry Jeudy, really elevating his ADP. You want to know why? Because Jerry Jeudy's good, but you want to know who also is good? Cortland Sutton. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Cortland Sutton at this point. Let's see, where did Mr. Jerry Jeudy? Jerry Jeudy went to 602, and we got him basically 12 picks later at the 701. So I think that is a nice discount there. Don't love the fact that Teddy Two Gloves is the starter, but I really talked about that ad nauseum at this point, so it is what it is, if I'm being honest with you. Cortland Sutton will probably be fine. So we're going to do the electric slide over here to the left side of the screen so you guys can see the draft board a little bit better. I may have to go even further so you guys can see my pick. After we made our pick of Cortland Sutton came Brandon Cooks, Javonte Williams, Devontae Smith, Tyler, Boyd, Michael Thomas, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Damian Harris, Willie Fuller, the 5th, Sir Will Fuller, the 5th, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Laviska Shenault, Michael Gallup, Deebo Samuel, Jarvis Landry, Raheem Mostert, Leonard Fournette, Corey Davis, Melvin Gordon, Pittsburgh Steelers, DJ Chark, Baltimore Ravens, Antonio Brown, and Sony Michel. Way too high on Michel in the 8th round. Unless Henderson was to go down, I don't really see a way that Sony Michel carves out enough of a role to be fantasy relevant inside of the 8th round, but I do understand it, right? But ahead of Trey Sermon, Michael Carter, Ronald Jones, to me, that is definitely a suspect pick. So we're back up on the board here in the 8th round. Definitely gonna probably reach a little bit here on the wide receiver we select at this point, because I think Samuel's definitely not a guy I'm looking to draft. I was earlier on in the offseason, but the more I look at it, the more I'm like, what do I really want in the wide receiver 2 in Washington? I understand he's the wide receiver 2, but he is banged up right now, so I'm not really looking his way. I like Mike Williams a lot, but Mike Williams has been a swing and a miss for at least 3 years at this point. I understand the upside. The safest pick here is Marvin Jones, but he also has immense upside because he could be the wide receiver number 1 in Jacksonville in targets, so he'll be the pick here. The fucking fantasy pros will probably tell me that that was a reach, but it is what it is, if I'm being honest with you. I like to get the talent on my team, and the swing is so long of 23 picks before we get to go again that there's really no way that he would be there at my next pick. So we are going to go running back here. I think the quarterbacks will still fall to us, as unless you know for a fact that your league is just going to hammer quarterbacks, like they're going to draft 2 quarterbacks before you even get one, then you're probably fine waiting until at least the 10th round to get your quarterback. So we're perfectly fine waiting at this point. The question is, do we go Trey Sermon, Michael Carter, or Ronald Jones? Out of those 3 backs, in my opinion, it is very close between the 3, Trey Sermon, Michael Carter, and Ronald Jones. If we are looking at this for week 1, Ronald Jones is the clear running back here that you would want to be taking, because Ronald Jones is probably going to be listed as the starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Later down the stretch of the season, Michael Carter could become the guy in New York for the Jets, and Trey Sermon, obviously Raheem Mostert is ahead of him, but he could easily eke him out, especially with Raheem Mostert's injury history. So it's really kind of a pick your poison. I'm personally going to lean with a risky option over the safer one. So we're going to go ahead here and get Trey Sermon, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. I do like Michael Carter a lot, but it appears it may take a little bit longer than I previously perceived for Michael Carter to become the lead back in New York for the Jets. I still do think he's a fine pick, though, around this range. Right now, though, I would lean with Trey Sermon if you're going for a more risky pick. So after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Trey Sermon, we can see that Washington football team came out the board, followed by Matthew Stafford, Kenyon Drake, Curtis Samuel, Zach Moss, Michael Carter, Jalen Waddle, Buffalo Bills defense, James Conner, Hollywood Brown, Henry Ruggs, AJ Dillon, Ronald Jones, Mike Williams, Jamal Williams, Noah Fant, Michael Pittman, Cole Beasley, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Naheem Hines, San Francisco 49ers defense, and Marquise Callaway. Callaway is going to be kind of cemented in this 9, 10, 11 round range, as he is probably the clear number 1, not even probably, he is definitely the clear number 1 wide receiver there with Jameis in New Orleans. And if Jameis looks like he looked in the preseason thus far, man oh man, is Callaway a steal this late on in the draft. So here we're definitely going to get quarterback with one of these picks and probably match it with a tight end here at quarterback. Ryan Tannehill, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. To me, these are 3 very similar quarterbacks. I think Jalen Hurts has the highest upside, but to me, he is also the riskiest because they brought in Gardner Minshew. Now, I'm not telling you to fucking panic from Jalen Hurts because they brought in Gardner Minshew, but it is maybe a little bit telling that what if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy? What if Jalen Hurts struggles? Gardner Minshew's a pretty good quarterback. Not amazing, obviously. There's a reason why he was the number 2 on the Jaguars. There's a reason why he's going to be the number 2 here, but he may be able to get some action. So maybe you don't want to go with Jalen Hurts, but I'm all about upside. And at this point, I believe Jalen Hurts has the highest upside, but the other quarterbacks are very safe and could also be top 5 quarterbacks. So we're going to match Jalen Hurts with his tight end, Dallas Goedert. Now, I'm not someone who in a redraft league is overwhelmingly looking every single time that I make my draft pick at quarterback to stack it with a tight end, a running back, a wide receiver. But here, I see the perfect opportunity to stack Jalen Hurts with a tight end who he seems to like, at least from the games I have seen with Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert together. Now, Dallas Goedert definitely got fucked by Zach Ertz, not leaving the team. Had Zach Ertz ended up leaving the team, going to another team via trade, then man, Dallas Goedert could have been a top 5 tight end drafted off the board in fantasy football. So we're back up on the board here, looking probably running back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. And we have 4 wide receivers, so a very balanced approach to the roster, which is what I am looking for. Again, more running backs than wide receivers. Doesn't always apply, but a lot of time that's what I'm looking for. After Goddard came Phillip Lindsay, Devin Singletary, David Johnson, Devontae Paca, J.D. McKissick, Tony Pollard, Los Angeles Rams defense, McCole Hardman, Ryan Tannehill, Robert Tonyan, Mike Gesicki, Broncos defense, Patriots defense, Joe Burrow, James White, Alexander Madison, Matt Ryan, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Higbee, Jalen Reagor, Trevor Lawrence, and T.Y. Hilton. So we're back on the board here. Going to look for no backup quarterback, no backup defense. I'm comfortable with Jalen Hurts. Now, I'm not super comfortable, but it is a 12-team league. I could probably pick someone up off the waiver wire if things don't go well for Jalen Hurts. And I'm pretty comfortable with Dallas Goedert, even though Zach Ertz does kind of screw with his upside. So we are going to go wide receiver and running back with these picks. So first up, we're going to go ahead and get Russell Gage, second wide receiver on the Atlanta Falcons team. I think this guy's going to have a huge season, as a lot of people don't seem to understand how good Russell Gage was when Julio Jones was out last season, and he is the clear number 2 there in Atlanta. And for running back, we're going to go ahead and make a safer kind of a pick here and go with the backup of Alvin Kamara. Now, we don't have Alvin Kamara, but if Kamara was to go down, Latavius Murray is a legitimate top 5 option in those weeks at the running back position, and finding that inside of the 13th round is basically impossible. So to me, that is a no-brainer pick. And then the last 2 picks will be our defense and our kicker. So after we went Latavius Murray and Russell Gage came Malcolm Brown, Tyson Williams, who looks to be the number 2 back in Baltimore, behind Gus Bus Edwards, Carlos Hyde, Giovanni Bernard, Mark Ingram, Janu Smith, Rahamondre Stevenson, Tevin Coleman, Chuba Hubbard, Todd Gurley, Tariq Cohen, Rashad Penny, Darrell Williams, Rob Gronkowski, Patty Campbell, Evan Ingram, Justin Tucker, the fucker, Irv Smith, Indianapolis Colts defense, Terrell Williams, Randall Cobb, and Austin Hooper. So we're back here again going defense and kicker. For defense, I'm looking to stream a defense that has a good matchup week number 1. The Broncos got taken. Another defense I like is the 49ers. I don't think they're going to be available. So we are going to go with the Carolina Panthers up against the New York Football Jets in week number 1. I think they'll be a fine team. The Panthers defense, very underrated though, and I think they could get to the quarterback in this matchup, so I believe Carolina should be available. Because why would they be taken unless the computer is streaming defenses? I'm clearly just blind here. I've probably scrolled over them like 3 times and you guys are just yelling at me. That's exactly what I did in the comment section, so I apologize for that. I like to stream based upon matchups every single week, and then we're going to go with a kicker. We're going to get my guy, my old bitch lame, but my young ho coup of the Atlanta Falcons. You go with Bucker as well. To me, it's Bucker, it is Tucker, and it is Young Ho Koo as the top 3 kickers in fantasy football. So we went ahead and got all of our team here. So we had a very nice draft, at least in my opinion, a very balanced approach to the draft, very running back heavy early on, which is something I don't always do in these drafts. So our team finishes with a 97 out of 100. Very nice from Fantasy Pros, but if you get a bad rating, again, that doesn't really matter at all. Our quarterback is Jalen Hurts. Running backs are Mike Davis and Christian McCaffrey. Our wide receivers are Keenan Allen and CeeDee Lamb. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. Flex, Darrell Henderson. Kicker and defense are Young Ho Koo and the Carolina Panthers. Our bench is comprised of Gus Bus Edwards, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Jones, Trey Sermon, Russell Gage, and Latavius Murray. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought about my team in this video. Sorry for a couple of jump cuts in this video, but my computer right now is running on red hot, so it did lag a lot in the video, so I had to edit things out, kind of go back, but I hope at the end of the day, this was a very enjoyable experience. I love you guys all so much. Thank you guys for all the support you've been showing on the channel. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, but let's make sure that we get there by kickoff. I love you guys. Make sure that you stay safe, as always. See you guys later, and goodbye.